Hello, Max here, NG7M, and I thought I'd make a kind of a primer video. Let's call it part one, about using DX cluster Telnet interfaces. And so again, NG7M, my personal call, along with Jim W7CT, we've been running a packet cluster here in the northern Utah area for literally 20 years now, and we started back in the DOS days, and have gone through several versions of the cluster server software, and now it's really come leaps and bounds, with the advent of the internet and everything else. But we're now running cluster server software that allows for literally dozens, if not hundreds, of Telnet connections. I run the server here at my QTH, and I'm preparing for a presentation I'm going to do at the Utah DX Association a few weeks from now. So I thought I'd put this together, see if anybody finds it useful. And it's just totally ad hoc. I'm not going to edit this. I don't have the time. I barely have enough time to deal with the software. So kind of this part one, I want to focus on just getting connected to a DX cluster node, if you want to call it. I'm not going to get into all the details. There's dozens of DX cluster nodes around the globe. In fact, primarily you'll find a lot of the AR cluster nodes here in North America, but it's in use too in other countries. So we're going to focus on AR cluster version 6, which was written by Terry AB5K, if I got that right. And he hasn't done a lot of work on it since 2012 or 13, but it's working really well. So it's kind of the basis for all of the skimmer server spots too. So we'll obviously talk about skimmer server spots, CW and RTTY. And so with that, let's go. I'm just going to use a basic Telnet client. And let me get me out of the way here. So I don't have to look at me as much. And here's my sophisticated intro screen there. It's called WordPad, NG7M. And again, Jim is kind of my partner in crime on this, and he helps fund it. So we've had fun spending a lot of money over the last 20 years. And the server actually that we'll be connecting to that does all the skimming, the skimmer server, it's sitting right to the left of me here in the room. Maybe in another video I'll give some details on that. So let's get started here. And I'm going to pull up just a plain vanilla Telnet client. You don't have to have a fancy Telnet client, but I just want to keep it simple. I'm not going to get into the logging software as far as N1MM or DX Lab or WinTest or RumLog for the Mac guys. But I think part two of the video will get into integrating it into your software as far as your logging software when you're running a contest, or you're chasing the DX and want to see where the DX station is getting spotted and stuff like that. So what you're seeing here is the Telnet client. It's actually kind of a high-end commercial thing that's used for secure shell, but I'm just using it to give the demo here. Any Telnet client, you create a session typically, and that's what I did here. I set up a single session as Telnet. The protocol that a DX cluster node uses is Telnet, not SSH or secure shell or HTTP or FTP. They typically are Telnet, and a lot of them now are not running on the default port. So if you look here, I've got the default port set to 23. We haven't changed that yet. I haven't seen a lot of abuse on NC7J, so I'm sticking with the default port for now. So you would set up your Telnet client, you would type in the host name if you want to connect to the NC7J AR cluster 6 node as dxc.nc7j.com, and that's it. So I just set up the window here. Don't get all confused with everything else on the screen. DXC as in dxcluster.nc7j.com. It's not a web interface. You don't put in HTTP or any of that stuff. And then for NC7J, again, the default Telnet port is 23. That's all you need. So once you actually connect to the cluster, you're going to get like a preamble. So I'm going to go ahead and connect here. And I made the font really big. Hopefully this will look good as you're watching this from YouTube. And you get a preamble there, and the first thing you want to notice here is at the top you can see a link to the user manual. I'm going to refer to that, so I'm going to paste that, or get that into the paste buffer, and just right now I'm going to pull up a web page, and oh, look at that, there's Taylor Swift right on my news feed there. And so I'm going to go to that cluster page, and this is the original documentation written by Terry back in early 2012, and it's still applicable, and so we're going to refer to that later on, but there's a wealth of information here on the commands. I'm just going to try to get us started and go from there. So back to the Telnet client. On NC7J we have a default when you first log in. So for this demo I have a split screen. I've got the entry down here so it's not intermingled with everything else on the screen. So once you connect and you see this preamble up at the top, just go ahead and type your call sign in down at the bottom, NG7M for me, and it must have timed out while I was pulling up the other screen. So let me close this. We're going to connect again. This is not scripted. It's totally ad hoc. So connect again. So now I'm going to type in my call sign, and now you get a preamble. This information right here, nobody ever reads, I swear, but it's just kind of a basic intro screen that tells you how to turn on skimmer spots and or turn them off. And so by default, if you've never connected before with your call sign, by default you will have a filter set that is not skimmer and spotter continent. That's spotter cont as a short for continent, equals NA as in North America. So there's a filter here where on the server, the NC7J server, just like many of the other servers out there, N7TR, N7OD, I mean there's a lot of different servers because it kind of splits up the workload, and NC7J is very popular now, and we get quite a few guys connecting, usually 24-hour days, and there's a lot of guys, in fact, from Utah, the Utah DX Association, that are connected on there. And we'll look at the commands. You can actually see who's connected. So we've connected, and I've mentioned that the default filter is not skimmer spots, and the spotter continent is North America. So that the spotter, whoever's sending the spot, has to be in North America. And as we've been sitting here, as you can see, there's been some spots coming in. So we've got DX. I mean, you need to do a little research on the format of the spots and everything. It's pretty self-explanatory. But you can see these are human spots because we've got no skimmer spots, or not skimmer. So these are theoretically real humans sending spots, except for one here. W3LPL actually uses skimmer spots and injects them into the human network, but he puts comments in as far as where the spot came from, so it gives you an idea. It's kind of a love-hate with W3LPL. You can create a filter to turn those off if you don't want to, or excuse me, if you want to, but I mean that's kind of an anomaly there. I mean everything else on the screen is human. So right now, most guys that connect, I think they're a little cautious, or they don't know the details about skimmer spots. So hopefully this will be a good introduction, and we'll show you what happens when you turn on the skimmer spots. Again, this is just a Telnet interface, so all the information here is just showing up on my screen. It's not going anywhere from there. We'll get into integration with your logging software in another video. So there's commands you can use, and again, back to the manual here. If you go to the command summary, I'm going to kind of focus on filters for today, but just a couple other things that you can do, and a lot of guys know. By default, there's kind of standard commands, and you can abbreviate the commands. And so there's one of the most popular commands if you're using the Telnet interface is show DX. So show DX will list 20 of the last spots that have come in, and again we're only dealing with human spots, so instantly there you saw the spots. I typed the full command out. The commands can be abbreviated, so if we type show sh 2 characters instead of the 4, DX, you're going to see the same thing there. So we are going to focus on the filters here, and so the first command I want to talk about, and you can look it up on the web page there. If we go to, let's see here, we're going to go to the DX, and so I showed you show DX, and what did I do? Go to the wrong one maybe. Station. DX. Yeah, here we go. So I just kind of scrolling around here. We're going to look at show DX filter, and that's what I wanted to get to here. So right here, again, you can. There's a lot to learn here. I'm not going to get into the crazy details. When you type a command in, you don't have to use the slashes. You can use a space. So I'll just be using spaces. It's a little cleaner. So this is the one we're going to look at here. We're going to do, what am I doing? Set DX. We're going to show DX filter. So show DX filter. This is what we're going to look at. So just come down here. I can type in show DX filter, or I can just type in show DX filter. So this tells you the DX configuration options, and this is by call sign. So I logged in with NG7M. This is the current configuration for NG7M without an SSID. If I logged in with NG7M-1 or NG7M-2 up to NG7M-15 or whatever, the server side will store your filter, so you can have different SSIDs and save the settings. So if you have a special filter that you set for a contest or whatever, you can log in with an SSID and that filter will automatically be set up. So I'm just in with NG7M without an SSID, and I have the default settings. So right now we're looking at the count. What that count means is if I do a show DX like I did earlier, it's going to show you the last 20 DX spots. And then the next line is kind of what I'm going to focus on here, is the filter is currently set to not skimmer, and spotter con equals NA. Spotter continent equals North America. Not applicable, that's North America. So if you're on a different continent, you could do South America or whatever. The help file shows you the different continents that you can use there. So the output is on means that the DX output is on, and I have a comment option turned on so it shows you the DX spotter state. So, oh, there we go. A spot just came in from WB8 SCT, and he is in Ohio. And a point to mention there is really cool on the server. On a weekly basis, the server downloads the latest and greatest VE and FCC call sign databases. And so this is accurate within a week, regardless of the call sign. So every single spot that comes in, you have to set this option. It's like an advanced feature. We'll get to that later. It's kind of cool because you can see that, yes, this guy is in Ohio and he heard EC7DWP on 7 megahertz, bottom of 7 megahertz there. Okay, back to the filter. So show DX filter, not skimmer, and spotter continent equals NA. Okay, the first thing I'm going to try here is we're going to turn off all filtering. So the NC7J DX cluster has a worldwide feed. Every single human spot and every single skimmer spot, RTTY, CW, PSK, whatever, is coming in to my 6-core server that's sitting over here. And you can get all those spots if you want. It's a fire hose. They wouldn't be very useful, but I'm going to show that to you. So if we turn off the default filter by just typing in set DX filter, you're basically setting it to a blank filter. You're going to see a ton of spots coming in where most of them are skimmer spots. So now you're starting to see spots scrolling up the screen from every skimmer server and every human that's posting spots on the globe. And so you can see there's a ton of them coming in from skimmer spots. And primarily it's all CW. If we waited a few minutes, we'll probably see some RTTY ones. So here you're seeing CW there. So you can also set DX output. So if I do set DX output off, I can just turn off the feed. So now I don't have any filter set, but I didn't want the feed coming into me. So the server then stops the feed from coming to your computer. So we can turn that back on, set DX output on, and boom, here comes the spots again. So now if I want to turn off the skimmer spots, I can say set DX filter not skimmer. So now we're only going to see human spots from any originating user, however. So, you know, we may see some spots that originate outside North America now. Obviously, the feed slows down when you're just looking at the human spots there. So hopefully that makes sense. So if we want to turn on skimmer spots again, we could just say set DX filter skimmer, and now we're going to see the skimmer spots again. So set DX filter not skimmer. Okay, so now human spots. And if I sit here and babble for long enough, you're going to start seeing some human spots come in. There we go. So there's a JA5 that just spotted, you know, EX8MLE on 18 megahertz. And, you know, maybe if I had a superstation or whatever, I could go see if I could hear EX8, but unlikely, right? He's being heard in Japan right now. And a US0 just spotted CO2XV that you can see there. So, and you can also combine that. You can say set DX filter skimmer and not skimmer, right? And originating spotter. You can combine the filters, and I'll show you some of those filters just to kind of get the primer going. On another note, there's a ton of other commands. You can actually look up call signs. No, it's rare that anybody uses this. Back in the day, the packet cluster, this was really popular. But if you want, you can look up W3LPL, that last spot that came in there, right here. You can actually do show ham, as in a call lookup, W3LPL. And so there you go. Francis Donovan, I mean, he has a crazy huge station. Look up his station on the East Coast there. But you can do that with anybody, you know, show ham W7CT. There's Jim's, show ham, kind of comes in handy. KK7L. There's John Minton, who's a UDXA, Utah DX Association officer, I think, right now. So there's a bunch of commands. So I'm kind of digressing here, going all over the place. Back to the filters. So again, show DX filter. Currently, I have not skimmer. So really, what this is all about is you want to get down to where you're getting the spots that are applicable to the size of your station, what kind of antennas you have, you know, what can you really hear? You know, what do you care if some guy on the East Coast can hear, you know, some station in Timbuktu? Sometimes you might want to just see what's going on. You know, some guys like to see that, but typically, who wants to tune around to a bunch of spots that you're not going to be able to hear? And I have a really modest station, and no tower and beam up at the moment, so I like to narrow down those spots down to skimmer spots that are close to me and human spots. I get a little more wider on the human spots. We all like to see spots, maybe that's why, I don't know. But you know, for this demo, I'll give you a short kind of a filter just so you get a feel of compound filters, because we want skimmer spots originating in certain states. That's the best way to filter. Around Utah will be my example, but you could use any state. And then we want human spots originating in, we'll just stick with North America, but you could actually limit that to human spots originating in specific states too. And again, the cool thing on the server side, it does all the work, right? Again, back to that FCC call sign database, the filter that you configure, it's using the CPU here on my skimmer server, and it's doing the call sign lookup. So when you filter it down to spots originating from certain states, it doesn't matter what the call sign area is. You know, if it's a W3 or a W7 that's in, Pennsylvania. WZ7I runs a skimmer server, very good skimmer server. A lot of RTTW spots out of him, but you see that W7, and you think, oh, I should be able to hear that guy, but no, he's in Pennsylvania or somewhere. So the call sign database is nice, right? Updates on a weekly basis, so you don't have to worry about the call area numbers and the call signs. The filter is going to work from the actual state that the spotter is in. So a few more DX human spots coming in there as I've been babbling here. So I've got some of the other skimmer commands. Let's do one like a compound filter. So how about set DX filter, and usually with the compound filters you put them in parentheses. So I'm going to say skimmer and spotter state equals let's say Utah, California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, Arizona, and I'm trying to pick a few states that actually have skimmer servers. I know there's one in Colorado, one in a couple, more than one in Arizona. There's 2 in Utah, several in California, N7TR in Nevada. He may be the only one. So then you close it with the brackets. That's kind of a shorthand. So spots are continuing to come in. We've got human spots around the world coming in right now. So we're going to change to, I want skimmer spots, which at the end of the day they're usually more reliable than the human spots. We want the spotter. Well, that should do it there, because I mean that's gonna filter out the spots from skimmers that are in other countries. So we'll close that first clause there. It's it's simple, like a database query language. Don't get intimidated by it. It's not that big of a deal. And now we can say and not skimmer and spotter cont equals NA. So does that make sense? So here we're going to set, we haven't set it yet, we're going to set the DX filter skimmer and spotter state equals Utah, California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, Arizona. So if you have a modest station, if these skimmer servers in these 6 states here hear something, you're probably going to hear it, right? I mean, depending on the band and the frequency, but if you're in Utah and you're looking at spots coming from the 2 skimmers in the whole state, WA7LNW, Jack down in north of St. George, he hears really well, so he's going to hear some stuff that I won't hear at my house here. The skimmer server here, the NC7J skimmer server, is right here physically, and maybe another day I'll do a video and show you how that all looks just sitting here running, costing me money 24/7. So okay, set DX filter, skimmer and spotter state, these 6 states, and not skimmer and spotter continent is North America. So we're going to get the human spots with this second clause, and only if the continent, the spotter continent, is North America. So let's go ahead and set that. And so you can see that the server came back and it expanded the shorthand for the states Utah, California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, Arizona. It expanded out the longhand command. And so now I've limited it down quite a bit, so we're not going to see very many spots coming in. So while everybody loves to see spots, but if you're sitting down in the evening, you want to see if there's any DX going on. I mean, just getting spots isn't interesting. It's fun to see the spots showing up on your screen or your logging software, but you want to trim those babies down to where you're getting good quality spots. So let's see. Oh, you know what I did wrong? I totally did it wrong there. I said and not skimmer and spotter continent North America. So I'm going to copy that, get it in my paste buffer here. Maybe somebody caught that. I'm going to change the filter to OR. It's got to be OR. Uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter. So, I mean, basically, I don't think we were getting anything. So I just changed the filter again, and now we've got OR. And lo and behold, there we go. So as I was sitting here, NC7J, my QS1R 7-band receiver that's sitting right, literally I can touch it right to the left of me, just spotted a couple stations on 160 meters. And so, wow, there's something going on 160 meters tonight. I didn't think there was anything going on. So anyway, it's spotting stations on 160 meters. So yeah, we're going to see some activity Saturday night. Anyway, so there must be a contest. Something's going on there tonight. So now, look, I mean, I can turn on my, because literally it's you know, I should be able to go here K1LT down on 1829.6, right? I mean, maybe I'll hurry and do that here. What the heck? Let's get down there. 29.6. Let's see. I'm not hearing anything there. Oh, 29.6. So there's, I didn't hear K1LT, but there he is, K1LT, right here. He's right there. I mean, I'm listening to the same antenna that the NC7J skimmers listening to. So anyway, that was kind of a good demo of that there. I'm going to turn that down there. Hopefully you could hear that over the audio recording there. So, I mean, literally, if you're in Utah, right? If you're in Utah and you've got a heck of a lot better station than I do, you're going to hear all these spots. You know, if you've got an antenna up for 160 meters or a loop or whatever, you know, you're going to hear these guys. Other than if they're not skimmer spots, right? You might not be able to hear like this K2EZ stroke 5 here. He just spotted K2EZ. What's with this guy? He's like spotting himself. That's like a no-no. What a schmuck. Okay. That's a whole nother debate. Okay. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Because you're getting human spots from all of North America. So you got to pay attention to where those spots are coming from if it's a human spot. Again, skimmer spots always have a ## sign on the end. So that's it. I mean, I think I'm going to use this kind of as the primer, kind of our video number 1. But hopefully you get the idea here. So I can turn off the spots again, so I could set DX output off. The filter is still set. Now I could show DX filter, and it shows you the current filter. I could open up another connection with a different SSID. How about if I do that? I'm going to open up another connection. So this Telnet client allows me to have tablet. So I'm going to type in NG7M -6. I think I've already got a filter set there. And if I do show DX filter, so it's a little more wider on the state. See, I had a different filter under NG7M-6. So here I've got 2 connections going. So this one's still going over here. You could do the same thing if you want to. If the compound filters get confusing, you want separate filters per connection. I think some guys are connecting multiple times, and they have, I don't know what they're doing. They have one computer with one filter, it's announcing countries that they need, and then they've got another computer with some other filter that's, I mean, I don't know. But there's a lot of guys that, connect multiple times. So you can see that here. I'm just switching between 2 connections. This one, I'm logged in with SSID-6. It retains that filter. Here, I've got this filter with the DX output off. Set DX output on. Now you're going to start seeing the filters come in, or the spots come in again. But if I disconnect with the BY command, I just disconnected. And if I connect again, that first one, NG7M, anywhere in the world, right? But that filter is set on the server. So show DX filter. It's still set the same. Where, again, I'm probably beating a dead horse here, but the filters are stored on the server by SSID. So, you know, no problem there. Oh, some other quick commands. If you're interested in who's logged into the NC7J cluster, you can do show users, and that'll show you all the call signs that are connected. So here we've got Bob WR7Q, down south K7UT, Daryl. You know, these are guys, local guys in the DX Club, Utah DX Association. Here's Jed 87KG. He's logged in 24/7. I see him on here all the time. AA3B, really active operator from back east, likes our server. We've got quite a few East Coast guys that like the NC7J server. So we don't have a ton of users, but we have some good activity, and I think they like the reliability of it. Oh, here's Don, another UDXA, Utah DX Association member, and I'm probably missing some of them here. But there we go, part one, just the Telnet interface and filters. Go and look at the manual. You know, hopefully now you'll see, I mean, there's a ton of features, right? So, you know, show DX features, and when you start setting DX options, DX mode, you know, you can set by mode, whether it's RTTY or CW or sideband, or, I mean, kind of the sky's the limit. A lot of guys will let their local logging software do that. So they'll get like a full-on feed, but, you know, you might want to filter it down to, you know, something reasonable before you start using your local software to filter out the spots even further. So lots of good information here on the manual page, and hope to have you watch the next video, and we'll go from there. 73 from now, on behalf of Jim W7CT, who coughs up a few bucks for this setup along with myself, NG7M Max, we will shut it down for now, and I'll see how long it takes me to get motivated for the part two of the Telnet interfaces for DX clusters, where you've got skimmer spots and human spots. So 73 for now, gents. Bye.